All right, guys. Well, welcome to Everything Next Level. It's so fun when I think about some of the people that I get to interview, and sometimes they're just really good friends of mine from a long time, and sometimes they're people that I've just met recently. And today it's a last minute thing. We had a last minute cancellation, and I, it's so fun because when you get to interview somebody that you know really well, that you have a personal relationship with, it's always a different conversation than if it's somebody that sends me their bio and wants me to interview them and I do this interview. Today is a good friend of mine, Randy Mason. Randy and I met several years ago at a private club in Costa Mesa. And the funniest thing was, I remember sitting in the lobby and I'm just sitting there doing some work or getting ready for valet or whatever. And Randy leaves and then he comes back in and he's like, "Hey, I'm Randy Mason." And we started talking, and just the way he approached me, just the excitement, the charisma that he has. He is just one of those individuals that he's infectious. His spirit is really infectious. And we developed a great friendship and relationship then. And it's been, he would pop by the house when he was going windsurfing. He would ride his motorcycle up. We've had many meals together. It's just one of those guys. But man, this guy is a very successful commercial real estate broker. He's got his own office in Irvine. Newport. And he's a family guy. His wife and kids are just amazing. And he's got some regiments. He's got some things that he does on a regular and consistent basis, like ski trips and trips to Europe, and just cool things that he does. He's just one of those great guys. And his wife is absolutely amazing and adorable. And I just absolutely love her and love his kids. Just great people. But Randy Mason, brother, you're on. I just really appreciate you hopping on.
Anything to help you out, Bob. I know what it's like when somebody cancels and you're, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah. So Randy, let's talk about this. I mean, you're married how long?
In July, it'll be 31 years. So yeah, I've got a rock star of a wife. She's phenomenal. She deserves a medal, frankly. Being married to me.
Well, and she's been going through some battles, and so that creates battles for the family, right?
No battles. I mean, she was diagnosed with stage 1 breast cancer. Bottom line, everything is fine. But when this was a year ago, right in the beginning of COVID. So, it was really funny. I think I told you this, but I was in South America the end of February to the beginning of, or to the middle / end of March with some boys. Had a boys trip, that some friends I travel with a lot. And when I got home, which was March 20th, by the way, my birthday is March 21st. Might want to mark that on your calendar.
Mark that on your calendar, guys.
March 21st. So I got home on March 20th. She had already been to the doctor, knew what was going on. My children knew what was going on. And she asked my son, Baron, "Hey, do I tell Dad, when he gets home or on his birthday?" So she sat me down on the couch when I arrived home, and wasn't home 15 minutes. And she says, "I got something to tell you." And that's when she told me she has stage 1 breast cancer. So that's the good news. It's stage 1. We we figured out a plan, and it's all perfect. I mean, she had just a lumpectomy, so that's good. She's cancer free, had radiation, had chemotherapy. And if anybody's ever going through anything like this, when you're going through chemotherapy, there's something called a cold cap, of which basically, so she didn't lose any more than 50% of her hair. Obviously, you lose some of your hair, but she kept 50% of it because of this cold cap. And basically, you use dry ice in this certain cap, and you put it on your head, and it freezes your hair follicles, so the poison doesn't go up inside the hair follicles. Anyway, she's got a full head of hair now. She's just a rock star. So to answer your question, that was our only real challenge.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, when you told me that, I was like, "What?" And just the the oddity that you were out of town at the time,
Right.
and then to be faced with that as soon as you come back in. But you are right. I love her. I have loved her from the day I met her, and I just yeah, she's definitely a rock star, no doubt about that. And as are you, brother. I've seen you handle some stuff in your life, and I've seen you just really handle business and change directions in your business and start your own brokerage. And when I met you, were with a company for a long time, and then you had started your own brokerage. And um, I always say this about you, Randy, and I know you kind of laugh when I say it, but I always say he's forgotten more about commercial real estate than most people will ever know. And but it's been by test and trial. I mean, he's had to go through all the years of doing this over and over and over again. And he brings some really great insights. So if you're looking for commercial real estate, or somebody who's looking at commercial real estate, he's the guy to go to. He would be my absolute go-to guy. Phenomenal human being as well. Randy, when you started commercial real estate, what was the goal? What was the goal when you first started commercial real estate?
All right. Well, to be perfectly candid, I got into real estate when I was 19, and I was doing residential. I was going to college at the same time. My manager at that time, I was working for Coldwell Banker. He said, Randy, you should really consider getting into commercial real estate. He goes, however, our company requires you to be 21 years old. So I'm like, okay. So I kept doing residential and was doing okay. I watched my grades go straight down because I was focused on working. My father, a wise attorney, said, Randy, you can work your whole life. You're not going to go to college your whole life. So please focus on the university. So I said, okay. So I finished university. While I was going to college, I learned about this exchange program called FIAPSI. It's a French acronym for International Real Estate Federation. And they explained how you could do an internship program. And I thought, wow, that sounds interesting. So cut to the chase, the summer of '85, I traveled Europe for the 2 months with another buddy of mine, had a great time, and just, it opened my eyes to, this is phenomenal. And that's when I decided, all right, I want to travel Europe for like a year and a half, 2 years straight. And my dad was supportive to the effect of, says, well, if you're ever going to do it, now's the time to do it, not when you're 30 years old or 40 years old and you're setting your career and your family started, etc. Yeah. You won't be able to travel that length of time. Okay, so I figured out how to go to different houses and stay with different real estate people. So I basically traveled Europe for 22 months. I stayed in a hotel for 1 week in 22 months, 1 week. Other than that, it was with people. It was, so just, you talk about getting to know the country and people and relationships. The sad part, this was before the internet, or they had the internet, but they didn't really have email. So I didn't get any email addresses. I just got telephone numbers and addresses. And well, you kind of lose track of people. So I still have some friends back in Europe that we keep in touch with, but obviously, the majority of people that you meet 30 years ago.
Wait, how would you meet these people? You'd never been there before, right?
Well, I was there the summer of '85.
Right.
So, spring or so, '86 is when I left, but I was doing the exchange program, which is, it was a formalized exchange program with FIAPSI. So what would happen is, it's an international organization, and all of the brokers that want to host somebody, they put their names on a list, and basically they have committee members that in each country that says, all right, you're part of Germany, you're part of Sweden, you're part of Norway, you're part of Denmark, you're part of Spain, et cetera, et cetera. So you contact those committee members, and then those committee members reach out to their members that have signed up and said, hey, we've got a guy who wants to, stay with you for a week. and they're wonderful. They're just phenomenal, and it was a good experience for them. It was a great experience for me. So that's how I met these people. And then one person would introduce you to somebody else. So I'm going to the office with you as an example.
Right.
You have a colleague, and that colleague would have a son about my same age, and they said, "Hey, if you want to stay with us for a week, yeah, sure." So then I'd stay with that son, and then that son would take me to a party, and then I'd meet somebody else at that party, and they say, "Hey, you want to stay with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." So that's how it just kind of kept bouncing around. So like, as I said, I was there for 22 months. On
Jeez.
my 20th month is when I met Leah, my only wife, my current wife, my only wife. Um, so I mean, I met her at a student party in London, and I looked at her and like, wow, she's beautiful. Where are you from? She's from Italy. I said, tell you what, I'll teach you English if you teach me Italian. And she goes, yeah, right, okay. So anyway, I saw her the next day, and we didn't stop seeing each other twice a day, for the next 2.5 months. 4 days after we had met, we're both like, you're the type of person I'd like to marry. And I said, yeah, you're the type of person I'd like to marry. Then it was like, okay, well, why don't we get married? And then it's like, well, why don't we get to know each other first? But I mean, she's just such an angel. So we waited for 2.5 years because she came over to America, stayed here for 6 months. The visa ran out. We renewed it like you're supposed to do. And then once that visa ran out, it was like, okay, you either have to go home or we get married. So we got an engagement visa, and the rest is history. Got married, and fantastic. Yeah.
That is so amazing, and and that it's lasted this long, and that you guys have just. I mean, I love being together with both of you guys. I mean, I met you first. We've spent a lot of time, and then I got to meet Leah, and I just love the way you guys interact. But you guys have really created this relationship that sometimes you travel by yourself, and sometimes she travels by herself, and sometimes you travel together, and you guys have just really created this relationship that I think a lot of couples have a difficult time doing. What do you think is the key to you being able to do what you've done in your relationship and in your business? What are some of the keys that you think have attributed to that?
Well, for our relationship, Leah.
Yeah, let's go with your relationship first.
All right. Trust. The reality is she trusts me and I trust her. And, it's like, okay. Her comment is, if you're going to do anything, you're going to do it. So I can't stop you. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to. I wouldn't lose you. So it's not worth it. So just the fact that the traveling alone with me was when, sounds bad, but so when we first got married, we traveled constantly because she was a travel agent and I was in commercial real estate. So I had flexibility with time. She had the travel agency of where she's supposed to travel and visit different places. So we kind of got into a habit of having a really good time traveling around. And remember, she's from Italy, so we would go to Europe, pretty much every year to visit her family and friends. And then one year, we couldn't go because I think the children were too small, too young. But she says, you should go and have fun with Tony. That's a really good friend of ours. And I'm just like, you sure? She was, yeah. So I call up Tony. He lives in Germany. And okay, let's meet somewhere in the middle. All right, well, that's the Atlantic Ocean. What's a little bit closer than that? So we said, hey, he's in Germany. Let's go to Amsterdam. So there's some beautiful museums in Amsterdam. The people are wonderful. They all speak English. So it's just a beautiful country if you've never been to Amsterdam and the surrounding areas. And bicycles. So we would rent a bike for a week and just go all over the place. And it was so cultural as well because they've got some really nice museums, the Van Gogh Museum, the Rijksmuseum, the Stedelijk Museum. So we got culture along with having a good time and getting some exercise. So that became an annual trip. And then we started saying, hey, let's meet somewhere else. And that's when we're doing South America and Central America, Asia. So, just having a good time. And then she goes out with her friend. She has a friend who lives in Singapore, so she goes out, visits Audra in Singapore. She goes on other trips with other girlfriends that are, to say Colorado or actually to Europe too. I mean, she's taken some of her girlfriends, London and Paris, and having a good time. So just the traveling part. So
what a blast.
Yeah, it is.
I one of the things I appreciate about you so much though is your ability to build relationships, and with me, relationship currency is the most important thing for me. So, but watching you do that with people that you've just met and developing that relationship currency. But one of the things I know about Randy is he stays in touch. It won't be very long if we haven't spoken that one of us will reach out and just say hi.
One of us?
One of us.
Me. I'm the one who's calling you.
No.
Yeah.
I called you when I was in Newport last month or 2 months ago.
True. Very much. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So
Yeah.
he is really good about staying in touch and really good about building that relationship currency. And I've really always appreciated that about him. But one of the things I've also come to realize is how you really balance your play and your work really well. It's typically one is so lopsided on the other. And yet with you, I see you just like totally immerse yourself in windsurfing, right?
Kiteboarding.
Yeah, kiteboarding. And it was like all of a sudden I hear that he's involved in kiteboarding, and then he's like bought the rig, he's bought everything, he's out there kiteboarding out in front of my house. And I was just like, this is so cool to sit there and watch Randy just loving his passion. And he was just had so much fun. And I'll never forget the day that you said that the kite got away from you and it just took off. Remember that?
Well, it didn't take off. A line broke, and I was 200 some odd yards out in Newport Beach, and it just was doing, it's called a death spiral, and there's nothing you can do. So I had to eject it and swim back 200 plus yards. The challenge is it was extremely windy. So it was probably 25, 28 miles an hour, which doesn't seem like very much, but it kind of is, because the ocean is now like a washing machine. So, I eject my kite, bye-bye kite, a $2,000 kite. It's like, maybe I'll find it later on. It's in Mexico now. So, so I had to swim back. So anyway, if you think that's funny, yeah, try it.
No, thank you. No, I told you I wouldn't be out there to begin with. So it takes too much upper body strength, I think, for me. But watching you love it though, watching you just have, and then watching you post pictures about everywhere, that you go up and down Long Beach. I see you I see you all up and down the coast, and you just are just having a blast. But that's not the only thing. Skiing is something that you love to do, and you do on a regular basis with your buddies and stuff. I think a lot of people have a hard time because they think if they're really immersed in something fun, that they're neglecting work. How do you balance that? How do you wrestle that with you?
I feel the same way. I feel guilty when I'm, let's say, taking off work at 4 o'clock because the wind's just kicked up in Huntington Beach. My gosh, I should still be working. I don't necessarily give myself credit for having gotten up earlier and doing work from home and from our phone. And fortunately and unfortunately, we can work from our phone now, which I find actually refreshing because I can make calls, I can follow up, I can send emails, I can do a lot of things that I could be doing at the office remotely. We're all finding this remote situation works to a point. It's not ideal, but you can make it work. So yeah, I do feel guilty, but I also realize, first off, if it's an exercise type of situation, that's a good thing. That's a good thing for your body. So if you have to take off a little early, so I work a little bit later. That's not a problem. I don't mind coming home and answering emails at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. That's not a problem. So it's almost like, all right, you take a long or a late lunch hour and you go kiteboarding for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. And then you go back home and continue working, have dinner, and continue a little bit more work if you need to. I like to take walks in the evening with Leah, so sometimes I'll get on after our walk. But I think your point of how do I balance it, not, I don't think there's really balance. I do it, and after it's done. Spam, you ever get those calls?
Yes.
Jeez. So yeah, I just do it, and I find like a week vacation, I'll be working on that vacation. So it's without a doubt. I'll go skiing for a week and I'll work in the morning, and then I'll work kind of in the evening hours or during the day, during a lunch break, you send some emails and texts, maybe you're not working as hard, or doing the same task, but I come back and it's like 3 weeks later, I go, well, nobody missed me that much. I got things done. And then that's when Lee and I started traveling to Europe, for 3 weeks at a time. And I would be on the phone every day calling my clients. And I have one of my very valued clients, Matt Weiss. He wrote me a letter of appreciation, basically mentioning the fact that, Randy, you kind of work too hard. I mean, when you're on vacation, you should be on vacation. And I said, Matt, but your transaction isn't going to stop. So I need to make sure it keeps moving forward. The steps get taken care of, the T's get crossed, the I's get dotted. And, I've worked 4 transactions over 20 years with Matt. So it's pretty neat,
Yeah. I really appreciate that about you, because you're not one that will neglect one thing because you're doing something else. And I've seen that in action.
For maybe half an hour or an hour.
Yeah, I mean, for a short period of time.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to draw out about about you, is you have the ability to, like I said, stay connected and value that relationship and that friendship. Where did that come from? I mean, was your dad, being an attorney, a successful attorney, was that something that he was really big on? Where did you develop that?
I don't know. I mean, somebody once told me the fortune's in the follow-up, which means you have to follow up, and people are busy. So I often will call a friend that I haven't spoken to for a year or so and say, hey, I got tired of waiting for you to call me, so I'm picking up the telephone. And it, fortunately, we're able to make telephone calls, with Bluetooth and hands-free, in the car. So I don't sit and listen to music. I will make calls, talk to my mother, talk to my dad, talk to my sister, talk to friends, talk to clients, just to kind of, that's wasted time in my opinion.
Yeah. What's been the biggest, you've had some great influencers. I mean, you've introduced me to some people, you've surrounded yourself with some just exceptional people to begin with, but what has been maybe one or two of the greatest pieces of advice that you've been given, and how have you applied those?
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I consistently try to help my friends and clients connect people with each other. My dry cleaner, as an example, great guy. He's hurting right now because of COVID. I mean, it's really sad. He's just a really great guy. He's had some problems with trying to get some PPE, PPE. Yeah, one of the, I forget. So I introduced him to somebody who Melody immediately called him, got things taken care of, and he's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. He goes, it's amazing how many people you know. And I said, well, I do know a lot of people, and I do try to help people out. And it kind of feels good. Probably the same reason I don't say enjoy donating blood, but I don't like needles. However, I do know that when I donate blood, I'm saving So I do a double red cell. So I save 6 people's lives as opposed to 1 pint is 3 people's lives. A double red cell is 6 people's lives with the Red Cross says. So I've got like 5 or 6 gallons that I've donated. I do it on a regular basis. For those of you out there that don't know this, donating blood for men is extremely healthy because we get rid of our excess iron in our body, and then our bone marrow kicks in and starts creating fresh, new red blood cells. So it's a good thing. So you can donate every, I want to say 60, I don't know the number exactly. I can do it 3 times a year. So anyway,
one of the things one of the things I appreciate about you doing that too as well, and he is very big advocate on blood donor. But when you do it, I've been on the receiving end of the calls several times where you've said, "Hey, I'm going to go donate blood. You want to come?" Or I've seen you post about it on Facebook. And I just love the fact that you bring people into the stuff that you are passionate about as well, and you want to expose people to that.
Truth be told,
Yeah.
there is an altruistic motive. I haven't seen that individual for a while, and if I donate and I save 6 lives, and he or she comes with me, they save 3 lives. We just saved 9 lives together for 45 minutes of visiting. It's like, how many people have I don't call it a meeting, but a get together donating blood? It's like,
see, the fact that you even think that way though, Randy, I mean, most people don't think that way. They think of it as, oh, I got to go donate blood. Oh man, you mean I'm going to have to go sit there for 45 minutes? They don't think about it. You've reframed it in your brain so that it's a mutual benefit, but it's a priority for you, and you allow people to participate in that as well with you. And I think that's just a really cool way of doing it.
good.
So Randy, as we wrap this up, because I know you've got a busy day and I appreciate you hopping on this. I want to tell you how much I appreciate you. I mean, I have just always appreciated our friendship. And every time we get together for coffee or for lunch, or even if it's spur of the moment, I always walk away knowing that I've surrounded myself with another great individual. And I really appreciate you and your family in that. And guys, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand now so we can do that. I'll let you guys ask questions. If you're watching this recorded, post the question. We'll make Randy a part of the group online so that he can answer questions. You guys can connect with him. But Randy, going forward, what's next for Randy Mason? Because you've got your brokerage now, you're doing well. What but you've had to deal with a lot of stuff you've got rental properties. You had to deal with a lot of stuff with COVID and everything else. And every time I see you, Randy, you just have a great attitude about it. I want to know, how do you keep that great attitude in tough times? And you laugh, but
Yeah.
trust me, I meet a lot of people like you do, and
Bob,
you have one of the highest.
It's really fake it till you make it. Hey, look at where we live compared to other parts of the world. I mean, we are so blessed. Wherever you live, if you're in the United States, if you're not in the United States, but you're in a decent place, it's not having conflict or, just real problems going on. I don't want to mention any particular countries or countries that don't really give you all the freedom that you would like to have. We're just so blessed. Every day, if you're healthy, obviously health is your first wealth. So, you need to make sure that you take care of your health, because without your health, you've got nothing. So health is your first wealth. One of my mentors tells me that all the time when I'm encouraging him to exercise, and vice versa. It's funny, Leah and I, yesterday, I have a basketball that I pumped up that I haven't played in a while, and Leah likes basketball. So I'm like, hey, let's go shoot some hoops. She's like, okay. I don't know if I'll shoot any, but I'll go with you. I'm like, okay. So we went down the street and we just played a round of horse and just had a lot of fun. It's just like going out and playing.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
That's one thing I've really appreciated about you, is your ability to just be available and play. And really cool. So Flo, go ahead and bring yourself on. I know you always have a great question.
I don't see these questions. You know that, right?
Hi, Randy.
Hi.
I love that you shared your story and everything and got to know you a little bit better. But I did have a question because you seem to have navigated commercial real estate, especially in Orange County, the last few years, maybe even during COVID. How have you, I mean, peaks and valleys and everything, how did you navigate through that?
Um, Putting one foot in front of the other. So what I look at is I look at my clients, and knowing that I want to do repeat business with them, what I do is I specialize in the tenant or the buyer side of a transaction. And what's really special is in our industry, I actually split the fee with the landlord's representative. If the tenant or buyer went directly to the landlord or the seller, they keep 100% of the fee. So a lot of people like to double end deals. However, you can't represent two masters. So my goal has always been, if I represent the tenant or the buyer, my fiduciary responsibility is to get them the best terms possible and to take care of them, make it as easy on them as possible. Most of my work right now is helping tenants renegotiate their lease. If it's coming, expiring in a year or 2 years, depending on what their plans are, and letting people know up front what I'm working for is the letter of appreciation or Google review. Now my son, who's in the business as well, Baron, years ago, he's, oh, Dad, you need to get Google reviews. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So I started doing that, and it's been helpful, and it feels good when you know you're taking care of a client. And now I'm asking clients up front, look, I'm going to give you the service that is undeniably the best you'll ever have. Would you give me a video testimonial? And now it's like, now I'm getting video testimonials, which isn't all that easy.
Nice.
Yeah. So how do I do it? You just wake up, and ours is such a long sell cycle. I mean, if somebody's lease expires in a year, I need to start working with them today, but I won't be compensated, for another 8 months or a year whenever the transaction's done. So it's knowing that you got to, plant the seed, basically. If you're gonna grow a crop, which you want to consider your clients, your crop, basically, then you need to plant the seed early and water it, tend it, take care of it, and do what Bob said with regard to follow up and just stay in contact with people.
Awesome. Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great answer.
And he is indeed the master at that. Randy, I just want you to give Leah a big hug for me and tell her how much I love her, and the kids, they're awesome. Every time I've either been on the phone with them or in person, I've always walked away going, these are just some really good, solid kids. But you have been a great example to me on how to live your life and to live your life in such a way that you can enjoy it versus being a master, being mastered by it. So
Wow.
I've always appreciated that about you, brother.
Wow.
So
Thank you.
if you guys, when you see him in the Facebook group, be sure and reach out to him. Super, super good guy. He's somebody I would turn my back on and trust that he would always have my back no matter what. He's one of those guys. So, and there's very few of those that I can say in my circle. So, I mean, in my world that exists. So, reach out to him, touch base, and connect with him. Randy, I appreciate you, brother.
Can I say one thing?
Yes.
I really don't go on Facebook too much. It's easy to post. It's super easy to post, right? So I do that because it's easy to post, but I don't sit there and look at it every day, etc. If somebody wants to get in touch with me, can I leave my telephone number?
Yeah, absolutely. However you'd like them to reach out. Yeah,
okay. Telephone number, if you want to, 949-705-7000, or email rmason@crscre.com. So if somebody says, I just really want to ask Randy a question, then I'd be honored.
Great. We'll put that in the context as well, so that so they'll have that. So thanks again, brother. I appreciate you. And I'm in San Luis Obispo right now, so I'll be down in Orange County, I believe, next week. So we'll try and grab some coffee if you're around town.
Is it raining up there now?
It's not. It's actually okay. It rained a little bit last night, though. It's kind of off and on.
Okay, well, it was raining down here in Newport, Irvine. Yeah, which is great. It's okay.
Yep.
Rain makes snow. Rain makes snow.
That's right. And it doesn't affect you going out into the ocean because you're already wet.
That's true. Although the water quality might not be as
I feel
good.
a little, yeah. Well, man, I
So-
love you, brother. And tell everyone I said hi.
All right. I love you too, Bob.
All right, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Everyone
Thank you,
enjoy your
Randy.
next level. Have a great
Bye.
week.
So how do you get rid of me here?
I can do it right now.